It is a sad day for Baltimore. A man who protected this city for nearly 2 decades was laid to rest. Detective Sean Suter is remembered as a hero, someone who gave his life in the line of duty. WJZ is live. Jonathan McCall has the massive procession for Sean Suter. Rick Ritter with emotional reaction to his death. But we begin with WJZ investigator Mike Helgren with those paying respects to the fallen detective today. Mike?
Denise, he gave so much to this community, and today they wanted to give back to him. Thousands of people packed this church to say goodbye. It was a tough day for Baltimore. Detective Sean Suter's loved ones wept. For the 18-year veteran of the Baltimore City Police Force, he was laid to rest 2 weeks after his murder. Suter's 5 children remembered their dad, a fallen hero.
Dear Sean, it's me, your oldest, the one you affectionately called Sho. I'm just writing to let you know that I miss you so much, and that I love you for being bigger and better than everything I humanly know.
Law enforcement from around the world came to pay their respects as Suter's killing remains unsolved.
I don't consider this goodbye. I consider it until we meet again, my brother, on the other side in paradise.
Fellow homicide detectives stood before the mourners, including Suter's regular partner, Detective Jonathan Jones, who was not with him the day he was shot.
We went out there and did what we did best, trying to bring peace to families whose loved one was taken away. And here we are now, our loved ones taken away.
Suter was an Army veteran, married to Nicole for 13 years. He rose through the ranks over almost 2 decades in the BPD, remembered for his big smile, easygoing demeanor, and knack for solving tough cases. He is much loved and sorely missed.
Our state grieves together, but through the blinding pain and the countless unanswered questions, today we remember the man and we honor the hero.
Detective Suter was shot with his own weapon after the commissioner says he encountered a suspicious person in West Baltimore. There remains a $215,000 reward, and police say they will give an update on the case later this week. At the Mount Pleasant Church, Mike Helgren, WJZ.
Mike, thank you. Let's go now to Rick Ritter with reaction from those remembering the life and the legacy of Sean Suter. Rick?
Well, Vic, as you can imagine, it was a very emotional day. 2 weeks after being murdered, thousands were forced to say goodbye to Detective Suter with very few answers. But there was no shortage of support. We had 2 parking lots full of law enforcement, some coming from as far as Chicago, giving Suter a proper send-off. It's a ceremony that brought chills. Thousands saying goodbye to one of Baltimore's finest.
But literally everyone there loved him. He was the type of guy that brought joy to a work environment.
Honoring Detective Sean Suter, who put his life on the line for our city.
It just reminds you that it can happen anywhere. It can happen to any one of us at any time.
The funeral drew a slew of agencies from across the state and country.
Baltimore showed, affection for us in our times of need, in our time of loss.
A sea of blue standing side by side.
If we weren't here for each other, you wouldn't see a big show out like this.
Even complete strangers getting as close as they could to pay their respects.
It's sad for the city, for the police officers, for the citizens of Baltimore in general.
Captain Jerron Jackson knew Suter for years.
I can tell you that everything you heard is true. Detective Suter, I knew him, his face was a great guy and a very inspiration to younger officers. He brought joy to the veteran officers that he worked with.
For Jackson, saying goodbye to an 18-year veteran is still surreal.
It hasn't really sunk in for me yet. It's tough for us to get through today. As a BPD family, as a community, as a city, it's a very hard day for us.
A tragedy that's hit the department hard. And while the investigation into Suter's death remains wide open, they're hoping it can serve as a wake-up call for the entire city.
I hope this is the point where we all say collectively, enough is enough. It's enough violence, and we need to do something to stop it.
Now, Suter had only been in the homicide department for 2 years, but I'm told obviously it didn't take long for him to make an impact, taking on several high-profile cases, a detective who brought out the best in everyone. Denise.
All right, thank you very much, Rick. And Jonathan McCall is live. He has more on the massive procession following Suter's funeral. Jonathan?
Today's here at Delaney Valley Memorial Gardens, the graveside service for Detective Suter now wrapping up. He is finally in his eternal resting place. You can see behind me a number of the cars leaving from that graveside service. All day long, hundreds of people have been lining the streets as part of this procession at the church and here at the cemetery, honoring this fallen hero. 2 weeks after he was shot while investigating a murder, Baltimore Police Detective Sean Suter is finally laid to rest.
It's been really sad. I mean, these everyday officers getting out here on a lot, doing their job every day, and things like this happen unexpectedly.
Wednesday afternoon, on his final trip from Mount Pleasant Baptist Church to Delaney Valley Memorial Gardens, Chopper 13 found complete strangers pulled to the side of the road and even covering overpasses to get a quick but lasting glimpse of this hero. For many, like Sharon Childs, the mom of a Baltimore County police officer, it was to simply say thanks.
Out of respect for Detective Suter and his family and for the whole police department across the United States of America.
At just 17 years old, Spencer Williams says it's the least he could do.
It's tragic what happens. It's just the right thing to do to come out and support your officers, support the people that protect you every day.
Suter's funeral attracted thousands of members from law enforcement from across the country and even the world. A steady stream of flashing red and blue lights could be seen for miles. Verlene Stepney had a front row seat.
I'm sorry this happened, and I just wanted to come out and show my respect.
And for this retired corrections officer, she says that Suter's murder is a danger that members of law enforcement face every day.
When we take the job, we know it's a dangerous job, and we all want to go home to our families.
And the last of those cars, as part of that massive procession here at Delaney Valley Memorial Gardens, has finally left the cemetery. People that we spoke with all day long say they not only wanted to come out to show their support for Detective Suter, but his family as well, now dealing with the unenviable task of grieving his loss. Live tonight in Timonium, I'm Jonathan McCall reporting for WJZ.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. And WJZ will have more reaction to Detective Suter's death coming up at 6:30.